万门大学的同学们，大家好，我是兰菲利博士，是莱特研究大学的应用神经科学教授。接下来的话题是我们都值得听的话题，是中国人和我一起共同有的一个障碍，就是害羞。巴布老师是一个非常不害羞的人会给我们讲如何变得更不害羞，而且怎么样才能挖掘我们真正的要表达的一些意思和情绪。我就不多说了，这个话题太重要了，我们就直接去听巴布老师讲如何从害羞变得更开朗。
Hello, I'm Dr. Bob Wright, Professor of Transformational Leadership and Coaching at the Wright Graduate University for the Realization of Human Potential. Are you shy? Would you like to understand and know what you can do about it? Well, that's a pretty common problem that we face with our clients in coaching and even with our students in coaching. Professor Philip Zimbardo of Stanford University in the San Francisco area says that shyness is a natural part of human behavior. He says that when we go into a new situation, it's unknown, it's dangerous, and it's natural for human beings to be shy in new situations. But when you're shy everywhere all the time, that's a problem. And the biggest problem we have with shy people in our world today is that they hide it. And you never even really know that it's going on. Dr. Judith had a client in one of her growth groups, and he considered it a success if he could be in the group and not have to talk at all. He hardly spoke the first 2 years that he was in that group. We're going to talk about what he did and how he came to change that, because Professor Zimbardo says that shyness is actually a habit, that inside of everyone is what he calls your inner extrovert. But he says it's really a big problem because of the anonymity. You don't know when somebody's shy all the time, and over time, we've become indifferent to each other. We become isolated, we become alienated. And today, it's so easy with electronic games for people to be anonymous and act like a completely different character in the game than their shy self. Israelis, people from Israel, are the least shy people on average in the world. But he says in the United States, the problem is becoming more and more severe at about 1% a year. And his research shows that it's in the neighborhood of 48% of Americans are shy. That means in the next couple of years, it should be 50%. Professor Jerome Kagan of Harvard has done some early childhood studies, and he finds that a third of the infants, before any family programming and training has come in, are naturally shy. They move away from new things. They may cry, they may arch their back in the first 6 months of life. Other researchers have shown that 15 to 20% of the babies are shy. Shy people tend to be low on verbal fluency. In Zimbardo's terms, it hides the roiling turmoil inside. They become excessively self-conscious. They're always managing how they're seen in the world. They see themselves as perfectionists. As Dr. Blue was talking about the other day when he was talking about singlehood, they work to manage the relationship of people they're dating as potential marriage partners rather than to really see if there's a good match between the two. Under pressure, shy people have trouble thinking clearly, and it's hidden. Professor Zimbardo says that there are 3 brain centers that mediate our fear and anxiety, and that these are highly active in people that are shy, that they overgeneralize their fear response, which is normal, but they're privately shy. And this is a big problem. So I told you about the man who hid out in a group of people, considering it a success when he didn't talk. He was a railroad engineer, and that didn't require him to talk much at all. As a matter of fact, on the railroad, I worked on the railroad in years past. There's a lot of hand signals. So when I was a brakeman, I could tell the engineer what to do. That meant he should go. This meant he should slow down. This meant he should stop. And he hardly ever had to talk to people at all because his conductor did all of the talking for him. He raised a son who was also very shy and didn't talk. The two of them, it was very painful to be around them because there was almost no interaction. And they were obviously having trouble even talking to other people. So how did he change? I said I was going to tell you about that. And that's what we're talking about in our book, The Heart of the Fight. And our book Transformed. He needed to tap his yearnings and engage, and he needed to revelate. Remember, we talked about changing his self-fulfilling prophecy cycle? He had a belief in his self-fulfilling prophecy that he didn't matter. And he acted like he didn't matter, and other people believed he didn't matter, so they acted like he didn't matter. So sad. So how did he change that? Well, we use a thing we call the assignment way of living. First of all, he had assignments to recognize his emotions. Then he had assignments to tell other people about his emotions. And little by little, he started coming out of his shell. He had assignments to ask for things. He had assignments to understand other people. He had all kinds of assignments that made him terribly uncomfortable. He hated it, but he knew he needed it. Little by little, he tapped his yearning to exist in other people's eyes. He tapped his yearning to be affirmed and to know that he mattered and people knew who he was. He actually tapped his yearnings to be angry and to have limits, boundaries, and expectations. And he belonged more and more powerfully. He hadn't gone to school beyond high school. Yet, as he began believing in himself, as he began challenging his limiting beliefs and changing his way of acting, and other people believed differently about him, he started going, oh, I'm not dumb after all. And I'm proud to say that he did his assignment so well that he went back to college, got very, very high grades, and was in fact the favorite student of many of the professors that he studied with. And today, he's working as a coach, helping other people with their shyness, helping them to understand more and more who they are and what they want in the world, helping them tap their yearning, helping them go more and more deeply inside of themselves. In The Heart of the Fight, Judith and I talk about shyness a little bit because Judith is painfully shy. When we're at home, she won't answer the phone if I'm at home. Even though she's a great person in public, she's an extrovert who is shy inside. See, we would normally say that cooperators and analyzers are more likely to be shy. But the truth of the matter is there are energizers, there are regulators who are shy inside, but they're very verbal, outgoing, but shy inside. They don't believe that they matter, even though they're very high performers. So, for shyness, start stretching yourself. Learn to recognize those yearnings and take an example from the young man I was talking about and start stretching yourself. Learn to recognize your deeper emotions because every one of us wants to know that we exist in other people's eyes. Every one of us wants to be unique and appreciated. And every one of us wants to have an impact in the world and to belong. and to do something that contributes to the world and to have purpose and meaning. That starts with your yearning, with your engaging. Take any of those assignments. Start identifying your fear, your hurt, your anger, your sadness, your joy. Start telling people a little bit what you're feeling once you learn to recognize those feelings. It's not going to change overnight. You'll probably always be shy, but that doesn't mean you have to be as alone, and that doesn't mean you can't be learning and growing into more and more of an engaged person. I can tell you all kinds of stories about very outgoing people today who never used to talk before. It's just a habit. Change it.